Cigars, the new rage.
Wait a minute, do you smell smoke? Ah, Kramer!
In ancient times, there was fire, but nothing to smoke. When Columbus landed in the New World in October 1492, he observed Indians puffing on log-like vegetables. These came from a grass the natives called cohiba. And lo and behold, Columbus and his party and the natives all got together and had a party and just started puffing away. Yes, they had discovered the wonderful pleasures of smoking cigars. In fact, according to Cuban historians, one of Columbus's advanced party members, Rodrigo de Jerez, was the first European to smoke a cigar every day, starting October 28, 1492. Later, Magellan and other conquistadors discovered tobacco lands throughout the Caribbean, Central and South America, and Asia. And in Mexico, a statue of a man holding a handful of cigars and representing the sacred powers of the tobacco gods would become the forerunner of our famous cigar store Indians. This incredible tobacco plant was something to behold, so the Spanish, Portuguese, and Dutch traders brought the leaves and seeds to Europe. Tobacco factories started to spring up all over the world, and the cigar began to make its way into the culture. And as in recent times, smoking of cigars hasn't always been accepted. For example, this gentleman, King Edward VII, snuck around his mother's back, smoking his beloved cigars for 61 years, as his mother, Queen Victoria, had banned his smoking of cigars. At his very first formal meeting after becoming king, Edward announced to the group, "Gentlemen, light up your cigars. It's time to smoke." But incredibly, the process of making a fine cigar has virtually been unchanged since the very beginning. So how does this creation start? Let's find out. The tobacco seeds are about the size of poppy seeds and quickly grow into small seedlings like this. They take about 45 days to germinate. Then the seedlings are transplanted to the fields.
The young tobacco seedlings are brought to the fields where they're planted one by hand. The young tobacco plants are now at 45 days old, and they will stay here till the first picking of the leaves, which will take place in about 40 to 45 days.
Canopies are used, like the ones shown here, to protect the plants from the hot sun. Tobacco leaves are picked in stages, starting with the bottom binder leaves at about 100 days after planting the seeds, followed by the middle leaves a week later, and finally the wrapper leaves 1 week after that. Only 120 days from planting seeds to picking the final leaves.
Look at this leaf, how it's developing. Oh, nice. Look at it.
The tobacco leaves are then taken to drying sheds and hung to cure. The leaves are then dipped in water. Aired out, blown dry, and sprayed again. Then aired out again. Fine cigar makers for generations, the Fuentes, Cynthia, Carlos Sr., and Carlos Jr.
This is something that takes a long time. You gotta have a lot of patience, and you can't hurry it. This is not force and steam or nothing. It's all natural.
You can never rush the hands of time, Rick.
Smell it, you see? The smell it has, it's almost pure.
Look at this, Cynthia. Cynthia, look at this. It
That
looks
is a beauty.
it looks like someone put coconut oil or something on it. Look how beautiful. Look at the
Such a
sheen.
natural oil.
Look at that.
It does. It looks like velvet.
This is the Fuente Rolling Room. Carlos inspecting a station. Here they are sorting the fine Maduro wrappers.
Each wrapper, depending on style, color, and texture, will be designated for a certain cigar.
Cigar wrappers are classified into 5 basic colors. From darkest to lightest, they are left to right, oscuro, Maduro, Colorado, Claro, and double Claro.
See the cutter?
If it's not clean, it doesn't cut it right.
You see a gap over here, Has? You see the cap?
Yeah.
It's not adjusted right. No, but it's nice. I think it's pretty nice. Very good.
Every step along the way requires personal attention, as you can see from Carlos Sr. weighing a bundle here.
Just unbelievable elasticity, the strength of the tobacco, the way she shines when you stretch her, the oils. If you have a left hand and a right hand, after the stem is removed, then the left-hand wrapper, you make a left-handed cigar. Right-hand wrapper, you make the right-handed cigar. We're now in the Opus aging room. The cigars are kept here for 1 year. The room is completely made of Spanish cedar. The humidity now is 75% relative humidity and the temperature is 75 degrees Fahrenheit. The cigars here are kept in perfect condition while they age and the tobaccos in the blend marry. You can see that cigar maintains all this oil and all this shininess. Cigars are kept in perfect condition till they're ready to smoke.
And of course, there's the special art of making the boxes for these beauties. They're sanded, then varnished, then printed. And of course, the all-important cigar band is applied. Every step along the way is done by hand.
Salud.
Salud. Yes.
Cigars. Take one.
Don't inhale until the tip glows.
This is it. Behind me, Havana, Cuba, the mecca for cigar making in the world. Somewhere right here, they're making the world's finest cigars, the finest cigars money can buy, or can't buy, as the case may be. Let's go into the heart of Havana and see what makes this secret come true.
From the days of Batista in Cuba through the Castro generation, there's only been one Tropicana.
They call him the Michelangelo of cigar makers. I mean, this man is to making cigars what Jack Daniels is to making bourbon. For over 35 years, he has personally rolled Fidel Castro's cigars, the best in the world. He is the one who created Cohiba, perhaps the most famous name in cigars in the world. He is Abelino Lara, and he is the man. What makes Cuban tobacco so special?
Ese suelo, ese sol, ese clima hacen que el tabaco habano, las hojas que se producen en Cuba, no sean iguales a cualquiera otra parte del mundo.
How long does it take to become an expert cigar roller?
Todas las personas no tienen la misma habilidad, la misma destreza. Entonces uno demora 3 años, 4 años, 5 años, pero la experiencia que yo tengo, como tabaquero que soy, porque aunque estoy viejo sigo siendo tabaquero, pero dirigí fábrica durante muchos años.
What kind of cigar does Castro smoke?
Y esa selección o esa mezcla es imposible comercializarla, pues obtener.
So he smoked the best of the best, is that right?
Quiere decir que fumaba lo mejor de lo mejor.
Lo mejor de lo mejor.
Do you know where I could find a Denny's around here?
Oh, how can you beat this? The world's oldest cigar factory, Partagas. Founded in 1845, hand-rolled, of course. Here we go, the Partagas rolling room. Now look at the room. High ceilings, very airy. Except for electricity, this room probably hasn't changed very much in 150 years. Some rollers even bring their kids and let them watch. Look at all the steps it takes to make a fine cigar. And as you can see, this is one busy rolling room. This man is the reader, a tradition in cigar rolling factories in Cuba, where the rollers over a period of time would actually go to school by being read to by the reader. These are his pupils, so to speak, and Jesus is one of the most honored readers in all of Cuba right now. He is a member of an honored lot whose job it is to read world history, the news, and of course political views to rollers as they do their thing.
Gracias, Jesus. Buenas tardes. We love what you do. We love your wonderful energy.
Amamos lo que hacen, amamos la energía que ustedes tienen.
And viva great cigar smoking. It's a pleasure to be here.
Y que vivan todos los fumadores de tabaco. Es un placer estar aquí con ustedes.
And now, if you're sick and tired of me, please tap your cutters one more time. Bueno. Mi amigo Abel, manager of probably the most famous cigar house in the world. Tell me about the Varieties factory.
Esta fábrica data del 1845, una de las más antiguas del país, y tiene una particularidad que, unido a su belleza arquitectónica, todos sus puros son elaborados totalmente a mano.
Well, your fine company makes all these famous cigars in front of us. Describe the ones and the difference in each one of them, if you don't mind.
Aquí, en esta caja nos encontramos con coronas especiales de Coiba, que es la marca más importante, la más famosa, la mejor, porque es una selección de selecciones. De la capa, la tripa, de una producción de Pinar del Río. Es decir, la zona tabacalera más importante de Cuba se encuentra en Pinar del Río. Y allí se produce el Coiba, pero que el Coiba es una selección de la tripa y la capa, que además tiene fermentaciones especiales. Por eso es la mejor marca. Ahora, la más conocida y la que más se comercializa en el mundo es Montecristo, que la tenemos acá. Y otras de las que tenemos acá, pues Partagás, Romeo y Julieta, Punch, La Rañaga, San Luis Rey, Sancho Panza, Troya y otras marcas que no tenemos acá.
You know where I could find a Kentucky Fried Chicken around here?
And here he is, the master himself, making a fine cigar. The tobacco that produces the bulk of the cigar, the core, is called the filler. Filler leaves can come from anywhere on the plant, depending on quality. Binder leaves, which surround the filler, come from the bottom of the plant. And the best leaves are the wrapper leaves. 70% come from the middle third of the plant. Most, but not all, of the wrapper leaves are grown under gauze canopies. These plants can each wrap up to 32 cigars. Tobacco leaves are picked in stages, starting with the bottom binder leaves at about 100 days after planting. Watch him work. Nobody does it better. These are the techniques that have been perfected over the years. That's called the cap, which he skillfully marries to the fine Cuban leaf. And if he just puts a little twist in the end, it's called a flag. This is hand rolling at its best.
Mr. Dees.
Hey, perk of the job.
Not too far away from the Partagás factory is this famous restaurant, the actual home of Ernest Hemingway, where Hemingway came to smoke cigars and be with friends almost daily. And this is Gregorio, a regular customer of the restaurant who has smoked 16 cigars a day since age 12. Next May, he'll be 14 years old.
Cuba. You play half a hole and everybody stops and smokes 10 cigars.
Cuatro!
And look at this, the day after the revolution, Fidel Castro, Che Guevara, and Antonio Nunez Jimenez on the 18th green of this same golf course. And here today is Antonio Nunez Jimenez, a man who has written over 74 books, including a 42-volume history of Cuba. The good doctor leads a full life. Look at this, just a fraction of the priceless artifacts he's collected from around the world.
Dr. Jimenez, you've written 74 books. You were one of the leaders of the revolution of Cuba, and yet you seem to know more about Cuban tobacco and its beginnings than almost anybody I could talk to. Columbus came to the north shore of Cuba.
Yes.
And at that time, did he actually see people on this island with tobacco?
Sí, a principios de noviembre de 1492, el almirante Cristóbal Colón envió 2 emisarios que explorasen la tierra adentro de Cuba para que entregaran al gran Khan, el emperador de China, le entregaran las cartas que llevaba de los reyes de Castilla y de Aragón.
Very simply, what do you think the secret of the success of your Cuban cigars is? I think the whole world would like to know.
Bien, el interés mío por el tabaco es un interés cultural, científico si se quiere, porque el tabaco ha tenido una significación muy importante en la historia del pueblo cubano. Por ejemplo, puedo decirte que en Cuba se descubrió por los europeos el fumar. Las primeras rebeliones contra el Estado español en Cuba la personificaron los vegueros, es decir, los hombres que cultivaban el tabaco en el siglo XVIII. Por eso fueron ahorcados, fueron muertos por las autoridades coloniales españolas. Pero también la base fundamental de la independencia de Cuba fueron los tabaqueros que emigraron de Cuba a Estados Unidos. Y la orden para comenzar la guerra de independencia de 1895 vino oculta dentro de un tabaco. De manera que el tabaco tiene un significado muy grande en la historia de Cuba. Más aún, en el desarrollo de las artes, el tabaco es fundamental.
Do you know where I could find a Burger King around here?
After the Dominican Republic, Honduras provides the second most popular cigars in America. Rich and spicy, they're perfect for the connoisseur who likes a fuller flavor. Jamaica also has the rich soil first cultivated by Cubans in the 19th century to produce some of the most flavorful cigars for the aficionado who likes a milder smoke, such as the Macanudo. Mexico produces an excellent leaf that is hardy and robust. And from these areas come the superstars of the cigar world. Hendrik Kilner, president of Tabacos Dominicanos. Manuel Quesada, well-known manufacturer of Romeo y Julieta in the Dominican Republic. There's Frank Uneza of Honduran American Tobacco. There's Rolando Reyes Sr. They call him the founder, the owner, the head cook, and bottle washer of Aliados Cigars of Honduras. Cigars, however, did not make it to the U.S. until just before the Revolutionary War, when Israel Putnam, a future American general, brought seeds and cigars from Cuba. The first cigar factories were set up in the Hartford, Connecticut area, and to this day, many consider Connecticut wrappers some of the finest in the world. 1,000 miles south of Connecticut, in the little Havana section of Miami, Florida, an ex-Cuban, Ernesto Carrillo, holds forth as the owner of El Credito Cigar Company.
Rick, the way I got into smoking stogies is very simple. I went home with Maria in 1977 when I met her at the tennis tournament. I went home with her to meet her parents in Hyannisport. And there, her father, after dinner, pulled out a cigar, lit it up. Then he gave one to his son, then to the other son, and to some other people. And he said to me, "Do you want a cigar?" And I said, "I don't know how to smoke a cigar." He says, "Well, try it, because after dinner, everyone ought to have a cigar." So I tried it. Well, the rest is history. I'm still smoking stogies. I love it, and he introduced me to something really good. And I know now the next question. Knowing you, being the interviewer that you are, digging in deep all the time, you will say now, what does your wife think about that? Let me ask you something. When my wife's father has introduced me to stogies, what is she gonna say? She's not gonna say my father made a mistake, because her father never makes a mistake. So therefore, it is okay. I can smoke stogies around her. I can smoke stogies in my house. First of all, because her father introduced me to stogies, and second of all, because I'm a stud. I'm ballsy. I don't take no shit from anyone. I smoke my stogie anywhere I want. I don't have to find a hideout place like you.
Well, this is an event. I mean, this is hard to believe, but a red carpet for cigars. It's called the Grand Havana Room, and things go on in here that, well, you have to see for yourself, and that's why we'll have to do it. The stars and the cigars.
I can't think of a better way to spend an afternoon or an evening to come down here and sit with a bunch of friends and hang out and smoke a great cigar.
Just something so relaxing about having a smoke and being able to go to a place where you can actually have a smoke.
Really loves the place and really enjoys, you know, what comes with it.
Like this?
Any way
what do
you
you think? I don't know if this is the proper size for me to complement my physique.
Kipling said a woman is just a woman, but a good cigar is smoke. Now, I love a good woman as well, so.
This is the heart of the Grand Havana.
Ah, here we are in the Grand Humidor, where each of the 350 members has his own private humidor. Probably over $1 million worth are secreted away right here. No one really knows. We know who Abe Finkelstein is, but who is Jack Nicholson?
And did you see my locker? I have a locker up there, right next to Joe Mantegna. And right above Danny DeVito. I got top billing. Hey, man.
I gotta tell you this, okay? This cigar has not been even rolled for 15, count them 15 years. That is king's for all of you bilinguals. You see that? They put them in each in individual cedar coffins, smoking. How appropriate. If this is not the most beautiful cigar that you have ever seen, I don't care.
All right, humidors, here we go.
This is $4,500. This fits 150 cigars.
$4,500.
Correct.
Don't you have something a little more challenging than that, though? I mean, that's just not enough for me to pay.
We do, actually. We come over here. We have Daniel Marshall. This is $5,500.
$5,500.
And it comes with 2 Credo humidification systems.
Gotcha.
And
okay.
for the pièce de résistance.
Yes. This, yes.
This little treasure is a mere $12,500.
$12,500.
It's called the Pyramid.
Can we get you to open that?
You can. Made by Michelle Purnell.
$12,500.
Get yours today.
What I like about this tie is it's coming back into style.
100,000 times a day, someone lights up a Santa Fe.
If you want your second, third, or fourth cigar of the day to smoke as light as your first, smoke Santa Fe. You'll see why.
100,000 times a day, someone lights up a Santa Fe.
Nassau, the incredible Grey Cliff Restaurant, the only 5-star restaurant in the Bahamas, where some of the world's most aggressive cigar lovers meet and eat and greet Mr. Enrico Garzaroli. You talk about a humidor. Watch this.
Wow, this is amazing. Unbelievable. The epicure and this.
Let's just take it, if you don't mind.
Please.
Now this...
The old McDaniels.
McDaniels? No.
Not Daniels.
Oh, the Dunhills, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Oh, whoa. Now tell me a little bit about this cigar.
And this is a...
Made in Cuba, of course.
Yeah, made in Cuba.
What makes it special?
Well, everything. The wrapper, the leaves, the sizes of the leaves, you know. They stopped making it about 6-7 years ago.
Oh, this is not even in production anymore.
No,
if you were in front of a firing squad, what would be the last cigar you would smoke?
Well, this one here would be a good one.
Really?
And if you're going to have cigars like this, you have to have a very special drink or two to go along with them. Look at what some experts call one of the finest 5 wine cellars in the world.
Yeah,
this is the $10 million wine cellar we've been hearing about?
Yeah, that's it.
Look at this.
Yeah, you have your choice. We can go from a superb, immaculate Chateau d'Yquem, 1868.
1868?
We can have, if you're going with the dinner, a Bechevel, 1858.
Whoa.
Maybe a Lafitte, only another choice, 1865.
A year after the Civil War?
You see? Or, if you're going to have these nice cigars after dinner and you're really in a special mood, we can go maybe for a 1790.
Wait a minute, this bottle of wine is from 1790?
1790. And this is one of the oldest ones that I have. It's a 1779 Verdelho.
Wait a minute, I think George Washington died in 1799.
Yeah, this is over 200 years old.
He could have had this before they put the leeches on it.
It's called the Big Smoke, and these convivial mixers are the places to be and the places to be seen.
I have my own cigar. I got to tell you that. So I have.
Is it called the Hamilton?
Hamilton cigar. It is a ring gauge of about a 38, about a 6.5 inch, and I like it because it's an elegant cigar. It's a very thin cigar. This little Robusto holder. It's sterling silver with gold.
How much would I pay for this?
$6,800.
Girls, I don't know about you, but why waste your time in a nightclub? Because all the men are in here.
Marvin Shankin, the aficionado, world-famous wine, food, and cigar connoisseur. Mover, shaker. And not only does Mr. Shankin love wine and cigars, but he also has one of the world's finest collections of rare posters. The publisher of Wine Spectator and Cigar Aficionado magazine, which some call the Bible of the new generation of cigar smokers, Mr. Shankin sports quite a personal cigar humidor himself.
You've heard of Hoyo?
Oh, yeah.
Monterey? Okay.
Yes.
How about 1935?
Oh, stop.
Oh.
You're going to show us a cigar that is still smokable from the year 1935.
You will see it's in mint condition.
Wow.
This is a Corona.
Look at this one. These
The
are
artwork
Cubanos.
is-
The artwork is phenomenal.
And then you open it up.
We're back in what year?
1920.
1920.
as with the Wine Spectator, where we rate wines, we also, with Cigar Aficionado, rate cigars. All the tastings are done blind. So I, as one of several tasters who smoke all the cigars, I have a band on it that says number 9 or number 42. I don't know what I'm smoking. And then you rate the cigar based on its appearance, its construction, its draw, its flavors, its overall character, and you come up with a score, sort of like what you had in high school or junior high school, a 100-point scale. If it's 90 to 100, it's an outstanding or classic cigar. If it's 80 to 89, it's an excellent cigar, a very good cigar, and on down to not recommended.
Starting like when you're like 5 years old, tell me everything about your life. I'm here with the author of the Ultimate Cigar book and arguably Richard Carlton Hacker. You are the definitive expert on cigars in the world today, and it's a pleasure to be talking to you about cigars. There's several different methods for cutting a cigar. What's the best way?
There are actually now 4 different ways to cut a cigar. The first and oldest method is called a pierce, which is nothing more than a sharp object punching a hole through the head. And this began back in Victorian times. It's really not very good anymore because as a cigar burns, it creates moisture. Combustion creates moisture. You're going to get moisture, you're going to get your own saliva, you're going to end up with a lot of acidic juices concentrated here. It's not going to taste good. So the pierce is out. Winston Churchill used to use the pierce, but then, I mean, he defeated Hitler, so he could do what he wanted. But there's better ways now. So the second way, which I used to use in the beginning, is called the V cut. It actually is a V, like a valley, cuts right into the head, makes a big V. You've got 2 sides in which to get a lot of tobacco smoke through, a lot of taste. The problem with that is today we're smoking bigger ring gauge cigars, bigger diameters, and there are not very many V cuts that will make that cut without ragging up the edge, without tearing the edge. So the V cut is out. There's a new cut called, I call it the cookie cutter, but it actually makes a hole and plucks out the center of the cigar. Nothing wrong with that. That's very, very good. But I like a nice blade. And the fourth cut is called the guillotine cut, which is what this is. A guillotine, simply just 2 blades, cuts across. This happens to be one of the best cutters around. I'm not endorsing it. I'm just saying a simple fact. It's what I use. And what you do is you come right across that top line, leave that in, and you just place your cigar head, just do one swift, deft cut, you know, the old bobbed cut we used to call it, just like that. Head comes off, and you're done. And the next thing you do, and I started to do this unconsciously, was you put it in your mouth and you draw on it to see that it's going to draw, to make sure that there isn't something blocking the tobacco inside. If there is, don't light it. It's not going to get any better. It's just going to get worse. Just get a new cigar, take the old one back to your tobacconist.
There's so much discussion, Richard, about how to properly light a cigar. You're the man, you know. What do you do?
There are only 2 ways you should really light a cigar: a butane lighter or a cedar match. And I'll tell you why. If you use a fluid type lighter, or if you use a cardboard match, they're both chemically laden. They're impregnated with chemicals. They have to be. If you take a fluid type lighter and you shake the flame, you'll see this black smoke come up. You're going to taste that in your cigar. You really will. So a butane flame burns very clean, and a cedar match burns very clean. There's no chemicals, so you don't want to put ketchup on this great, you know, filet mignon that you just purchased. Now the other thing to remember is that the hottest part of the flame is at the tip, not in the center. Everybody plunges their cigars right into the fire like it's a branding iron, and I even say in my book that's wrong, because so you can put your finger right through this flame. That's not very hot, but you hold it up here, and you only do this 10 times and it's over. You can't, because the flame is concentrated. So to light your cigar, you start by toasting it, and I call it turning and toasting. You actually warm the foot of the cigar over this flame, over it. It never touches it. You don't want it charred up. Now you see what's happening? That flame is actually jumping up and kissing the tobacco. It actually leaps up. Now in some restaurants, the maitre d' will light your cigar for you this way, and then he will wave it around in the air and let the natural eddies light it. This drives the anti-smokers crazy, but it's great. And then, of course, he presents the cigar to you untouched by human lips. I prefer to do the lighting myself because I like the big, voluminous fireball that comes up. I love the smoke. I love it, and I want people to know I'm there and I'm smoking a cigar. I want them to know that. So after you've toasted it, and you're doing that because you're drying out the moisture. This cigar was humidified, so you're drying out the moisture, and you're actually charring it. You're making this whole foot ready to accept the flame. So once that's charred, now you'll watch, I'm going to be puffing on it. It will never touch the flame, but the flame will leap up to the cigar. You don't want to char this beautiful wrapper. This is the greatest moment. I mean, and of course, then you look at it, and I do all these things unconsciously, but I explain them now as we're going through this. You look at it to make sure the entire diameter, the entire ring gauge has been lit. If it hasn't, you light it again. There is some kind of a paranoia against lighting your cigar twice or 3 times. It shouldn't be. You know, there's a ritual, yeah, but it's fun. It's a hobby. So you want to, you know, if you have to light it 10 times to make it lit properly, light it 10 times. Nobody's going to give you an A or a B minus or a C on the thing. Luckily, we got this one right the first time. So it's set to go. You just sip on it, puff on it, and enjoy. All cigars are measured by a ring, and a ring is simply a unit of measurement that's used to describe the diameter straight across of the end of a cigar, and one ring is 1/64 of an inch. So if a cigar was 32 ring gauges, it would be a half an inch. If it was 64, it'd be a full inch. Most cigars today, the popular ones, are between 46 and 50 ring gauge. That's a pretty nice size cigar, and they don't use ring gauges in Europe, only in America. In Europe, they use centimeters. And the centimeters are the circumference. So in the US, it's a ring gauge, the diameter. It's kind of confusing. If you go over to Europe and you buy a cigar, you say, give me a 54 ring gauge. They don't know what you're talking about. If you say, give me a cigar that's 106 centimeters, then they know what you're talking about. Every good cigar, if you don't keep puffing it, will go out. It has to. There's no chemicals in it, unlike cigarettes or cheaper cigars. So this cigar has gone out. We've been talking. Well, the first thing you do is you want to get rid of that little bit of ash. You just dust it off. Don't crush it, just dust it off in the ashtray. Get down to the bare char. Then, if you would just start to relight it now, I would get that acidic, harsh taste because you're getting ammonia, you're getting a concentration of nicotine, you're getting all those bad things that have now coagulated on the end of the cigar because it's gotten cold. When it's burning, it disintegrates, but when it's cold, they just kind of coagulate there. So you want to get rid of that. The best way is to repeat the old toast and turn method. You just warm the foot of the cigar, you turn it, and what you're doing, well, you can't see it, you're literally burning off all of the impurities that come from the ash. And it doesn't take long to do that. Then you simply just repeat the smoking process. Flame doesn't touch the cigar lights itself, you're on your way.
Tell us about the band around the cigar.
Well, the cigar band was originally started in 1750 by the Tsarina of Russia. She did it because she wanted to protect her royal fingers from the stains of tobacco, so she had little silk ribbons put around it, and then about 1836 in Cuba, someone said, hey, we should put our little logo on here, and so that's how the band was born. It actually started by a woman and gained prominence, of course, with Cuban cigars, and then in the Victorian era, right around the 1870s, 1880s, it became fashionable for men to wear white gloves, and of course the white gloves would stain. They had the same problem the Tsarina did, so they really began to use their bands as a reference point for holding it. Now in Europe, they consider it proper to take the band off. In America, and my own personal belief is, you know, there's nothing absolute here, it's all a matter of opinion, but my personal opinion is you should leave the band on. So I go over to Europe and they say, you American, you barbarian, you leave the band on, get out, get out. But I leave it on because of 3 reasons. One, I'm very proud of whatever brand I happen to be smoking. I don't smoke bad cigars, so whatever the cigar is, I want people to know what I'm smoking. I don't care if it's Jamaican or Mexican or Cuban or Honduran or Dominican. I want them to know. So I leave the band on for that reason. Also, there's a very practical reason. When they put the band on, it's actually affixed by gum arabic, which is the same material they use to secure the cap. If you try to take the band off, you may crack or rip the wrapper. You rip the wrapper, you got a do-it-yourself cigar. It just starts to unravel. So you leave the band on for that very practical reason. And then, of course, the third reason is it really does serve as a reference point. And some cigars don't have bands, so you don't know where to hold them. No, you just hold them here. But if it has a band, I leave it on for those reasons.
So there you have it, the history of cigars, where they're grown, how they're cut, how they're rolled, the differences in the fine tobaccos and the blends, the movers and shakers of the cigar world, and of course, how to choose that all-important cigar. Everything you need.
Gotta do it.
Avelino, how long have you personally been making cigars? Have you ever had the nerve to talk to Castro about his uniforms? How's your prostate? Dr. Jimenez, you're a doctor, a very famous doctor. Do you know what's wrong with me? Do you know I love you?
Think I'd look good with a nice stogie? Okay, and how do you hold it? Like this?
Like this or like this or...
Like this?
We are the woman. We are the woman. We are the woman.
What you do, you want to basically try to create, the right humidity, especially on the part that you want to start.
There are only two ways you should really light a cigar: a butane lighter or a cedar match.
Better than sex, provided it's only one girl.
Well, do you have anything in orange?
Cigars, the new rage.
It's a good cigar.